For context, my female 28, husband 33, comes from a wealthy family, and he's inherited several assets from his relatives. One of them is this huge house where we live right now, with a pool and a huge backyard with many features. We decided to host our first cookout after we got married 7 months ago, and we invited both his and my family. On a Friday, both families came, and we had lots of fun. Then everyone went home later. I then get a call from my mom, and she didn't sound okay. She asked whether or not my husband took money from his family before they attended the cookout. I was confused. I asked what she was talking about, and she told me that my husband charged every single person from my side of the family who attended the event $25. I was utterly shocked and very angry and felt like this had legitimately damaged my relationship with most of my family because almost all of them came over. He got $275 from them. I was so livid. I hung up the phone and confronted him immediately. He told me my family got to enjoy the space and view and said that I should think of it as a resort cookout since this house has lots of luxuries. I told him it was a horrible thing for him to do, and that what made it worse was that his family didn't pay like mine had to do. He laughed and then reminded me that his family gave him the house. I demanded he gives the money back, but he said no, and that he won't even give it to me since the house was technically his. I went and took the money and gave everyone who paid their money back and a sincere apology from me. My husband found out and flipped out at me, calling what I did overstepping and disrespectful. I told him he shouldn't have taken money from my family for being guests at our house, but he corrected me, saying it's his house, and saying that he'd bet my family had never got to attend a cookout at a house like this, and that it was just $25. But I disrespected him and went behind his back and took money that wasn't mine. We stopped talking after this argument, and he keeps venting to his mom about me taking his money that he earned his own way. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your husband's reasoning makes no sense. Who charges people, let alone family, to come to their house and have a party? That's psychotic. Did his personality do a 180 after you got married or something? I can't wrap my head around you marrying someone who thinks so little of you and your family. Don't you realize that you are a guest in that house? That is his home, not yours. So you're married? Big deal. What is his, and what is yours is his. He keeps venting to his mom about me taking his money that he earned his way. First, this might be the only time he's ever earned any money. Second, he isn't venting to mommy. He's crying to his mommy and involving her in things that are none of her business. Again, this is just between you and him. By the way, mommy's boys never make good husbands. Hopefully, you do not have children, so the divorce should be pretty painless, and you can easily block him and go no contact. If you think this is going to get better, think again. Sorry for my English, but how often will he have to say my house for you to understand? He will never see you as his equal partner. How many times will he have to be disrespectful and condescending to your family for you to see all the red flags he waves in front of you? I'm honestly more shocked your family paid it. If I showed up and he demanded money, I'd turn the crap around. I'd like to kindly point out that he sees the money he charged for entertaining his wife's family in a house he inherited from his family as his earned money because he's letting them enjoy the house's luxuries. To me, he's always enjoying the amenities of the house he'd never get to enjoy if he wasn't born into the family who paid for it. OP, divorce him and get everything in half. Me, female 34, and my fiance, male 36, got engaged 2 months ago. I own the house we currently live in, but he started helping out with the mortgage payment after he moved in. I have a daughter, Ruby, tween. She adores animals. She's had about 7 pets so far in her life. Unfortunately, her dog Tick passed away. He was her closest friend and favorite pet. It was devastating for me as well because he was so precious. As a way to honor him, I printed a middle-sized picture of him, Ruby's favorite, and put it in a frame and hung the frame on the living room wall. Ruby was so happy with it. especially since she saw him smiling at her when she walked in. It comforted her. My fiance saw it and got upset. He commented on how strange it was to have the dog's picture up on the wall and how much of a distraction it brings. I felt puzzled because we have all kinds of pictures hanging on that wall. He suggested we remove it, but I ignored him. One day I arrived and saw that he had taken it down. Ruby was in her room crying, holding the picture. I asked what happened, and she told me that my fiance took the picture off and told her she's not allowed to have it hung up there. He also told her to keep it in her room if she doesn't want to lose it for good. I was shocked. I rushed out and immediately started taking down all the certificates he had on that wall, his doctorate, master's, and bachelor's degrees, and about 4 to 5 other certificates as well. All of them I took down and put in the bedroom. He discovered what I did, snapped at me, and says that it's his house as well, and I should respect his input. I told him since my daughter has to keep her picture in her room, he too has to keep his certificates in his room, according to his logic. He yelled at me, demanding I stop nagging him and acting childishly and spitefully. He wanted to put them back, but I refused and said that if he did that, then Tick's picture would be put back up as well. Finally, he yelled about how I disrespected him and his achievements, treated them as trash, and stormed out. He's been giving Ruby and me the cold shoulder for days now, saying he won't speak to either of us until we apologize and put those certificates on the wall ourselves. Am I the idiot? Wait, hold up. So he displayed his certificates on a common area wall in the house, so anyone walking in gets to read up on his accomplishments. And then a picture of your daughter's dog was mounted in the same area, and that galvanized him into action. Shouldn't his certificates be hung in his office? Or better yet, filed in some box in the attic? This screams ego-driven to me. That was what caught my attention. Anyone who thinks their degrees and certificates belong on the wall of a home, but not a picture of a loved pet, has a serious issue. Also, what he did wasn't input. What he did was execute a unilateral decision. So respect has to go both ways. Respect is an authority meeting deference. He took a picture of your grieving child's dog, threatened her, told you that your house is also his, yelled at you, and demanded an apology? If you marry this abusive man, you and your daughter will have a miserable life. But on the other hand, if you sweep this incident under the rug, you will be the idiot. When you have a kid, you have a huge responsibility for who you invite into your home and potentially be a part of that kid's life. Also, please know your daughter will grow up and remember that this man mattered more to you than she did, unless you show her that's not true. Sticking around in this scenario may have also had an unintended impact on her future relationships. Do you want her to land in a relationship like the one you have with your fiance? My husband, 39, and I, female, 36, and kids live a 10+ hour drive from my side of the family. My parents, sister, brother-in-law, niece, and nephew are driving to see us and staying in an Airbnb for 7 days. I want them to stay in our house, but my husband didn't want them to. He can be moody, so to keep the peace and ensure we have a good week, I told them they couldn't stay here, so they got a place to sleep, which was close by. I thought the plan was they'd only sleep there. I was planning that everybody would come over for breakfast. We would then get ready to do some fun activity together, touristy stuff, and then return mid-afternoon, and I would cook dinner for everyone. We also have a pool so we could relax, swim, and spend time together. My husband has also had a heated argument with me for 2 days about them being at our house so much and eating here. I told him that it's only 7 days of the whole year and that I wanted to spend the most amount of time with them. Also, we have a big enough house to be comfortable. He refuses for them to have 2 meals and to be in the house. He says I can meet them outside of the house. I told him if he treated them like that, the kids and I would go sleep over in their Airbnb. He was quite angry with me for not giving in to his request. Am I the idiot for demanding that my family drive so far to see us for a week to be able to eat and be in our home as much as they'd like? Not the idiot, because he lets his family stay with you both when they visit, but he doesn't offer the same courtesy to yours. This is a double standard on his behalf. It would be a different outcome if his family didn't stay with you and got treated the way he's trying to treat your family. I used to be married to someone that was moody, which was really just code for spoiled, only wanted his way, and would sulk in silence if he didn't get his way. Walking on eggshells to keep the peace and just giving in to his sulking is no way to live. Enjoy your time with your family and let him sulk like a pathetic toddler. What's his reasoning? I'm really wondering about this. Has he had past bad experiences with them as guests? Has he had past bad experiences with them in general? Does he have something going on with the week that they plan to visit? Was he consulted when planning what dates they were going to visit? Without any context, his reactions seem idiotish, but I imagine versions of this where I think OP was joking around. Yeah, this is a real game changer. If he doesn't get on with them, they're rude house guests. OP has a habit of blanking him when her family's around and leaving him to do all the donkey's work. OP is absolutely dodging this question and is making me suspicious. I married my wife, Leah, 3 years ago, after being in a relationship for 3 years before that. I have a son, Callum, tween. My late wife was Grace. She died when Callum was a toddler. I've always made a point of keeping her memory alive. We used to read some of the letters Grace left him for bedtime. I also played the videos she made for him for daily life and looking back on. I also tell him stories about her and us as a couple and a family with him. He has an attachment to her memory and through everything she left for him. When I met Leah, he and I talked as I was getting ready to introduce her, and he asked if she had to be his new mom. I said no, that was up to him, and their relationship could be anything he was comfortable with. He said he couldn't imagine having someone else be his mom. We discussed it more times as the relationship progressed, and I was open with Leah that she was marrying me, but she was not becoming a mom. She said she was okay with that, but she did want more kids. I agreed to that. We didn't expect for her to be infertile and unable to have a child biologically. Since then, she has been less okay with not being Callum's mom. She's told me it should be back on the table, despite me telling her Callum's feelings have not changed. So she decided to bring it up in front of her family, saying she was his mom, but not getting the love or title, that I was making her feel less loved than Grace. Her family started ganging up on me, saying they had been hearing about it for 3 years now, and how Callum deserved a mom and to be healthy enough to embrace a new mom, and that Leah deserves to be a mom and be credited for raising Callum. They said she was doing most of the parenting, which I strongly disagreed with. I'm not some guy who married to pawn his kid off on someone. I actively parent my son and do more than Leah because I disagree with dumping all the parenting on my spouse. It was the same when Grace was alive, because I want to be there for my son and because Callum comes to me more than Leah. She argued that she should be doing more as the household's mother and that I was a terrible husband. I asked her what she wanted me to do, to tell Callum that his feelings and established boundaries don't matter and he needs to cater to hers. I've been her shoulder to lean on throughout her finding out she's infertile and throughout any step-parenting struggles she's had. Still, she made me angry by handling the conversation the way she did. And I told her. She knew the deal when she married me, and I had been clear with her what her role would be and that we're not looking for Callum to have a new mom. Leah was upset. I don't think she was devastated when she found out she couldn't have biological children, and her family was angry at me. I do feel bad for snapping as I did, but I'm also mad at her for putting me in the position she did. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. And you're right. She knew the deal when you married. Unfortunately, she's infertile, but that doesn't mean she entirely gets to disregard Callum's feelings. That's no way to treat someone who she wants to mother. You're doing great. But you don't understand she wants to be a mom, and it's completely fine that she tried to use her family to manipulate and browbeat OP into getting what she wants, ignoring what his son wants because she wants to be a mother and that's all that matters. Jeez. She's doubly an idiot for bringing it up in front of her family. She fully intended for them to gang up against you to try to manipulate you into giving her what she wants. Honestly, you need to rethink staying married to her, because if she's this pushy with you, you can bet that she's even pushier, though maybe more subtly, with your son, and that's not a healthy person to have him around. You are the idiot for molding your literal infant into someone who wouldn't accept anyone in his life in a motherly role. This is your own making. You practically have the kid worship his dead mother. If you had allowed him to grow like a normal child, he would have had the benefit of attachment to another human being, but you shut that down from the beginning. I would understand your wife's frustration. She comes second to your late wife while doing all the work of raising the kid. I have a tween son and a young teen stepson, and am currently pregnant with mine and my husband's first child together. My stepson and I have a very cordial relationship, but he prefers to keep me at a distance. I've always respected his boundaries. For my first sonogram appointment, my husband couldn't attend. The boys both have summer activities during the week. The plan was for me to attend the appointment alone, but at the last minute I decided I didn't want to be alone and asked my son if he wanted to go to my appointment, and he did. I picked my son up early and took him to my doctor's appointment. Afterward, we went and got ice cream and picked my stepson up from his activity at the normal time. My son excitedly showed my stepson the sonogram, but my stepson was quiet and didn't show interest. Later after dinner, my husband asked me to talk with him. We sat down and he wondered why I took my son, but not his, to my appointment. I said I wanted someone with me because it was a big moment in my life. Since he couldn't make it, I took my son, who I'm very close to, with me as emotional support. I also pointed out that his son didn't seem particularly interested. My husband said his son was really upset and spoke to him when he got home about how hurt he was that my son was invited and not him. I said I wasn't invalidating his feelings, but this was my medical appointment, and I made this decision for my comfort. I get that the kids come first 99% of the time, but I feel like my medical appointment about the pregnancy inside my body is very personal, and I should be able to do what makes me most comfortable. My husband got really quiet. Finally, he said, "I understand how you feel." Then he walked away. He didn't say anything to me this morning when he left for work, and he took my stepson with him, which is weird because usually I drop off both boys. I need an impartial take. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Look, it's generally thought that a step-parent treats a stepchild like their own. However, as both kids are getting a new sibling, it would have been better to ask both kids if they wanted to attend the appointment. Maybe this preferential treatment is part of the problem with your relationship. You're also a major idiot for thinking of a little kid as your emotional support. Do not use your kids as emotional support. OP seems to have confused respecting boundaries and excluding. As the adults in the relationship, you need to invite them. Respecting boundaries means you accept the no. However, that doesn't mean that you stop inviting for future activities. You decided to bring your son and make a day of it, which is fair, but by doing so, you consciously excluded your stepson and let him know he's not a part of the nuclear family for you. He probably fears it'll get worse when the baby's born, and I feel your husband's now wondering the same thing. I can't help but wonder if the behavior you label as keeping you at a distance is actually either hurt or a self-defense coping strategy because he's felt excluded in the past. I, female, turn 18 in a few weeks. I'm counting the days to get out of my parents' house. They, however, have become so reliant on me that I know they dread the day and wish they could legally prevent me from moving out. I'm their oldest kid. They have 4 others, all under 10. My siblings have been put on me for a long time now. Even when I was their age, it was expected I would step up because I'm the oldest. So it was both parentification and the old school thing of the oldest is expected to help because they were born first. Not all of it was parentification, but some of it sure was. We're talking about helping with homework, making sure they didn't kill each other, walking them to friends' houses, and watching them while mom and dad ran errands. But you also had stuff like feeding them lunch and/or dinner when mom and dad weren't home, babysit overnight when they want to go to stuff, and walk them to school once they start going. I was told I needed to know how to change diapers and feed them as babies. That's the sort of stuff that happened a lot. I got some freedom. I could do whatever I needed every afternoon, at least with 3 weeks of work behind me. Over time, it became me being the one home more than them, and guilt trips laid at my feet if I wanted to do something, and my siblings wanted me to be home with them instead, and my parents saying I should treasure those moments while they want me like that. I'm pretty damn tired of it. I don't enjoy my siblings. Part of me wishes they had never been born, so at least I could have looked out for just myself and not had to sacrifice so much. I don't feel like the benefits are there for me, and it's sad because most of my friends adore having siblings. In contrast, I'm left feeling like it's a chore. I started saving some money when I was 14. My parents don't know, but it can help me move out right as I turn 18. The topic of my birthday came up recently, and my parents said, "You'll still come around, right? You'll still help take care of them, right? You still owe us, you know. We're still your family." With that kind of stuff. So I told them no, I wouldn't. They told me to think of the kids, if not them. So that's when I said I didn't choose to have their kids, and I wasn't going to help keep making their life easier and my life more difficult. That I'll be gone and they'll have to figure it out independently. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You were the parent during your teen years. It's time for them to become a parent now. They're not your kids and not your responsibility. Your parents sound terrible and have no boundaries. Your parents had kids, and expecting one of their own to raise them was not fair to you. If I were you, I wouldn't speak of this in front of your parents. I'd just sign the lease, pack up my stuff, and go. You don't owe your parents anything for raising you. That's their responsibility as parents, and putting it on you is pure manipulation. I know it's easy to resent your siblings right now. Just please remember it isn't their fault. Your parents saddled you with them. And please, please, make sure your money's safe when you're ready to move out. I hope your parents don't get their hands on any of it. You deserve your freedom. You deserve to live your best life. I agree. It's not OP's fault that her parents decided to have 5 kids and couldn't afford to care for them all. The only thing OP owes them is calling CPS. I feel bad for the second oldest, because I bet that when OP is gone, this kid will be the substitute, especially if it's a girl. I live in a country where it's very common for parents to do this. The oldest girl of the family frequently is parentified and becomes the second mom of the kids. I think it's better, though, to go the other way and pretend OP had a change of heart and will help them out. Then the parents may let their guard down a bit, and OP has a better chance of making it out with her money and valuables. OP has a lot of things they need to gather to move out: her birth certificate, IDs, passport, bank records, treasured personal items, and regular personal items that she needs. If OP makes it clear that she's never coming back, her parents could quickly sabotage those. In fact, they probably are now. OP should definitely leave, but do it quickly and quietly, rather than telegraphing your moves. Good luck. For over a decade, my 4 best friends and I have had an annual fishing trip. There's always been a no wives, no girlfriends rule since the beginning, and no one has ever violated it. 2 years ago, my friend Tim told the group he wanted to bring his very young son to pass the tradition on to the next generation. Only Tim and I had kids at that point, but my daughter was 3 and too young for fishing. We all supported Tim's idea and made a big deal over the little guy. He had a great time and came last year as well. My other friend, Randy, has an infant son now. When the baby was born, Tim gave Randy a children's fishing pole to give to his son on his 5th birthday. So it seemed clear to me that the tradition had evolved to us plus our kids, which I'm cool with. The other day I mentioned to my friends that my daughter was excited about this year's fishing trip, and they looked at me like I was crazy. Tim said I shouldn't bring her, and I was baffled. I was super supportive of him bringing his son, and this is no different. My daughter's now Tim's son's age when he first came on the trip. Another friend brought up the no wives, no girlfriends rule, which made me angry. My daughter isn't anyone's wife or girlfriend. I said if they don't want my daughter there, I don't want Tim's son there. Tim was offended and stormed out. Randy said what I said was uncalled for. I said I'm bringing my daughter and that's that. I just want to make sure I'm not being an entitled idiot. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If I were you, I'd ditch their trip and take your daughter on a fishing trip, one-on-one. She'll probably enjoy that a lot more than being looked at by your friends like she's biologically lesser. Clearly, when they said no wives, no girlfriends, they meant no females. Lame that they, as fathers themselves, aren't more understanding and supportive of you wanting to bring your daughter. I used to fish with my pop, and it was a great bonding experience. Plus, lots of kids love trying and doing things the adults in their lives do. If he'd not been open to it because I'm female, we would have missed out on one of the major things that we bonded over. I definitely recommend doing it one-on-one too. It's great quality time, particularly if it avoids the misogynistic idiots too. Please consider whether you want to maintain these friendships at all. Now you know that they have problematic gender views. Update: we talked some more. They ended up apologizing. Daughter's definitely coming on the trip. I know many people assume that my friends are misogynistic and horrible, but they're not. They were just worried that with my daughter there, we'd have to stay in a hotel instead of the usual cabin and not be able to do as many activities. I assured them my daughter could sleep without air conditioning as easily as Tim's son, and they were going to be the ones having trouble keeping up with her energy. Everyone apologized for mentioning the no wives, no girlfriends rule and agreed that was a crappy thing. It's all good now. Thank you for your support. Just saw your update. It's sickening to me that you can't see your friend's misogyny. Because she's a girl, they assumed she had to stay in the hotel? What the heck? They made up the excuse of being worried that they'd have to stay at a hotel. If they didn't need to stay at a hotel for the other kids, why suddenly yours? Oh, that's right, she's a girl, which means she's somehow less than. Your friends are jerks. P.S. Wondering if your wives or girlfriends get to disappear with no responsibilities for a week every year. Oh, how could they? They have all the female children and boys under 5 to care for. Context: we've been married for 6 months and dated for 2.5 years. My husband, 31, hates when I'm talking to him while scrolling through my phone. I'm a multitask person, so I could focus on doing 2 things at once, like checking my Instagram while listening to him. He pitches a hissy fit whenever he sees me with the phone in hand. Recently, he has given me an ultimatum. He has nerve, LOL, saying next time he sees me using my phone while talking to him, the phone would have to go. I thought that was an overboard kind of ultimatum, because it's not like I'm ignoring him when he's talking about serious stuff, but he wants me to be 200% listening when he talks about a game or a past trip with his buddies. I was in the kitchen the other day, strolling through my phone, when he came and sat across from me. He told me to put the phone down. I asked why and whether he had something serious to talk about, but he said no, nothing serious, and reminded me of what he had told me about the phone while talking rule. So I was like, no. He got up, took it out of my hand, and rushed out while I yelled at him, asking where he was taking it. He got outside and threw it in the pool while I watched. I couldn't believe it. I started yelling, "What? What?" at him repeatedly. Finally, we got into a huge argument, and he decided to get in his car and leave for Starbucks. Later, I told him that what he did was out of line, and that I expected him to replace my phone ASAP. He responded, saying he had already set one reasonable rule, and I violated it and disrespected him and his presence and time. We had another argument, and I insisted he replaces my phone. Finally, he said that I made things get this far by refusing to listen and choosing to be disrespectful. Thankfully, I have an old phone I'm using for now, but my other phone was a tremendous loss because I paid for it and have to work on it. Everyone's the idiot here. Husbands don't make rules for their wives. Wives don't make rules either. He is not your boss or your dad, so claiming he gets to create rules that you have to obey is not a good look. You aren't perfect either. It is rude to be looking at your phone when someone's talking to you. I'm not sure either of you is ready to be married. It's rude to interrupt someone who's occupied and demand their immediate, undivided attention for something of no importance. But I also wondered if he just never shuts up, and this was over just trivial crap. This relationship is a no-go either way, to be honest. Not the idiot. You're not a child. He's not your parent that gets to set rules and punish you for misbehavior. That behavior should never be accepted in a marriage. He owes you the money for a new phone, and he owes you a separate apology for treating you like some misbehaving child and teaching you a lesson. Girl, it is just starting. He is going to have a bunch of more rules for you. I think you should just take the loss and replace the husband altogether. I mean, even if done to a child, this behavior is toxic and abusive. Who the heck escalates straight to destroying property like this? My late wife, Kate, passed away about 12 years ago. They have a family heirloom that was passed down several generations, starting from her great-grandmother, from mothers to their first daughters, on their 18th or thereabouts birthdays. The heirloom itself is not highly valuable in a financial sense, but the history makes it very valuable to the people in the family. I currently possess it after Kate passed away, and I always intended to give it to my daughter, Claire, on her 18th birthday. She is presently a mid-teen. I married my current wife about 8 years ago. My stepdaughter, Sarah, whom I have adopted and consider my own daughter, is nearly an adult. Her 18th birthday is in a month. My wife has also adopted Claire, and we all consider each other as just one family. My wife asked me to give the heirloom to Sarah on her birthday to continue this tradition. I was hesitant because I always intended to give it to Claire, who is Kate's only daughter, as this is what she would have wanted and is the continuation of the tradition. However, my wife counters that this belongs to our family now, and we should give it to our eldest daughter on her 18th birthday. Therefore, this should be Sarah. I told her that while I consider Sarah to be my daughter, she's not Kate's daughter. This belongs to Kate and should go to Kate's daughter. My wife said that Claire is her daughter, not anyone else's, and my wife accused me of playing favorites and told me that if I genuinely consider Sarah to be my daughter, then I'll do the right thing for her, or that I haven't accepted Sarah as a real daughter yet. I consulted my son, from Kate, 25 years old, and he told me that if I do this, he will walk out of the birthday party and that he bets he won't be the only one. He said if I do this, I should be ready for severe consequences. He left very frustratedly. His argument in the end was that this isn't yours to give away. It was Mom's and now belongs to Claire. My wife thinks my son is overreacting, and it's only because due to his age and moving out, he's never bonded with Sarah like Claire and I have, so he doesn't consider Sarah his real sister. Otherwise, he'd be happy for her. My wife thinks Claire will be happy about this, since she considers Sarah to be her big sister, and it'll bring the girls even closer together because Sarah will happily share it with Claire, and they'll both have it. So, will I be the idiot if I did what my wife wants me to do and give the heirloom to Sarah? You are the idiot if you give away the heirloom intended for Kate's daughter. Your wife may have adopted Claire, but Kate will always be her mom. That is such a cruel thing to say, and shame on you for not correcting her. Ultimately, because this came from her mom, it will mean a lot more to Claire than to Sarah. Sarah's your daughter too, but I'm sorry. She will not understand or appreciate the significance of something belonging to a woman she never met. If you give it to Sarah, be prepared to lose Claire and your son. You raise a good point. Claire lost her biological mother, and she would truly treasure this heirloom as something of her mom's. To Sarah, it would have no sentimental value of that sort. It would just be another piece of jewelry. Your wife needs to understand that it's not yours to give. I'm sorry to say this, but all our arguments against this seem like an attempt to manipulate you into giving it to Sarah emotionally. And while it may make Sarah feel happy, you would be robbing Claire of something that was her mother's. Maybe give it to your son to hold on to until Claire is 18. It's such a ridiculous request. The new wife is still threatened by the fact that OP loved a different woman before her. By destroying this tradition, she's doing her best to destroy OP and Claire's happy memories of his late wife and her mom. It's also like she's trying to cement her place as the number one woman in OP's life, which is a ridiculous contest. And she's ironically pressuring him to favorite Sarah as proof that he's not favoring Claire. I have to wonder if this is the first time she's pulled antics like this. I'm male 28, am in a 2-year relationship with my girlfriend, 27, and we haven't had any big problems yet. We don't live together, but she spends much time at my place because she has roommates. I have a 1973 Dodge Dart Swinger. It's broken down, and I bought it cheap a few years ago. The car is not that good, but I honestly have a deep love for it, and I spend a lot of money on it whenever I have some money left to spend. Recently, my girlfriend bought a 2017's Renault Kwid. The car's nice. It's new too, so it doesn't even have a scratch. The thing is, my girlfriend demanded that I leave my car outside when she sleeps over so she could leave her car in my garage. She said that since her car is new, it's more important to keep it safe. I disagreed. My car might be cheaper, but it's still my car, and I think I deserve to keep it safe because it's my only vehicle. She stated that I was selfish because she had to work a lot to make enough to buy her car, so I tried to calm her down and told her that I could pick her up at her house when she wanted to stay over. She'll be able to leave the car in her home's garage, to which she said no, that she had bought the car to be seen in a new car and not a broken down one. Then she called me stupid and told me I was ruining our relationship for a car, and I answered that she was doing the same. She left and hasn't been answering my calls. Was I really wrong about this? Or should I stand my ground? Not the idiot. She's the one ruining your relationship over a car. OP, her car costs more and is newer, but your car has a lot of emotional value and love from you. So in a way, they're both expensive. And since it is your garage, you get to decide which car you want. Simple as that. She needs to learn to accept a no, be more understanding, less self-centered, and grow up. For starters, you two don't even live together. Her entitlement, expecting you to let her have your garage because she has a nicer, newer car, is baffling. Secondly, when you offer a solution to her ridiculous request, she responds by calling you selfish and insulting your compromise. Again, she's exhibiting her entitled behavior because she can't be seen in a broken down car now that she has her new car. If you look very closely, you will see her true colors. So think long and hard about continuing this relationship. She had bought the car to be seen in a new car and not a broken down one. Sir, here's the red flag you ordered. You offered her an excellent solution, but she's more interested in impressing people. Gross. Your girlfriend sounds materialistic and not like someone who knows how hard it is to make money to buy stuff. Update. My girlfriend and I spoke. She's furious. She told me that she thought I'd be more understanding with this and asked me how I expect to move forward if I can't even do something so small for her. I told her I wasn't ready for the next step, and she got angrier and kicked me out of her house. I don't know if we can solve this for now. I'm really doubtful about what to do, but still, thank you all.